Welcome, everyone, to Stepping Into Your Leadership. I'm your host, Christine Courtney. Our goal here is to give you some actionable takeaways that will help you lead your teams. Thanks for joining us on this leadership journey. Let's get started. Happy summer, everyone. We are back with a special edition, a summer edition, so to speak, of our Stepping Into Your Leadership podcast. And for this summer podcast beach read version, we have the ever popular Erika Petrelli and Greg Shamie in the studio today. Hey, guys.
Hey, Christine.
Hi.
So as a reminder, what we do for our summer series is I read one little paragraph about a problem employee, or maybe it's a great employee who's having a difficulty, or you're having a problem with him or her, and you're going to listen to the story. And Greg and Erika have never heard this before, although they've managed people for a long time, so they've heard versions of everything, but they've never heard this one. And then they're going to share what they think they would do if they were the manager or the supervisor or the boss or someone in control in this situation. And then the other person can add on to what they say, disagree, whatever they want. And then you at home can think about, what would you do if you were in this situation as well? And after that, we're going to go to a 2-minute lightning round where I'll ask them as many leadership questions as we can get through in 2 minutes, knowing that currently the leaderboard has just 3 questions on it. But answered by at least 2 people. So that's 6, I guess. But anyway, we'll see how we do today. So what way we're going to work this, Erika, since you are the person who's been in here the longest, you're going to go first. And then Greg will get to listen to your answer and then add his. And then we'll start the lightning round with him. Okay? Got it?
Okay.
All right. Good. Here we go. All right. Listening ears on. Here it is. Rachel is a new hire in the IT department. She has shown a lack of proficiency in certain technical skills essential for her role, leading to delays in project completion. She has struggled with coding tasks and has needed significant assistance from colleagues to complete assignments, impacting the overall project timeline. What do you do? So, Erika, solve the problem, our Rachel issue that we've got.
Rachel is not a problem. Rachel is new. This is what is clear about Rachel. You said she's a new hire, and her struggles that you mentioned are all technical skills. And that is usually the so-called easiest problem to solve, because what I'm hearing is simply a lack of training, a lack of mentorship, and a lack of time. So I would say, as a manager of Rachel, one, I should double back and look, what training on-site, on-the-job training did we offer Rachel when she started? And was it enough? I'm going to assume the best first, which is to say it wasn't enough training, or it just didn't land correctly. So one of 2 things would be my first approach. The first would be, let me retrain or add more, whether that's internally or sending her out to a class. Second, if I have a more seasoned staff member in that same department, I'm going to put them together and have that more seasoned staff member mentor and kind of work side by side with Rachel to try to get her up to speed. So I'm going to assume it's simply she's green and just hasn't had enough time, not that she's incapable or unable to do the job in the future.
You're so nice. Greg, what do you think?
Well, this is so interesting because Erika's brain and my brain, I think, are very similar just from the multiple years of working together. I'm always very much in the same boat as she is. What came to mind, I love what she said. What came to mind for me was very similar. I'm now going to our model that we use for this, which is the situational leadership model. And it's that person's in that first bottom right quadrant. And therefore, I, as the manager, are looking to see their competency levels, which are obviously low because they're new, and she's having a hard time with the tech piece here, and making sure her commitment levels are high because she's new. So that's going to mean that I'm going to have to really direct her and handhold everything and show her exactly what to do, A to B to C to D, so that she can learn and really pick that up. Now, if she's having difficulty learning, I love Erika's idea too of it not only being me, because I may not have the time to handhold so thoroughly with her if I have a bazillion responsibilities. So I like that mentor piece of finding one of my better players and really connecting them together and making sure they direct the new Rachel to really help her to learn the technical skills needed to accomplish the task and take responsibility. The more experienced person, the mentor, would be responsible for the timelines, because we can't drop the ball on the timelines.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate. So one, do you think maybe you made a wrong hire? Okay. This is an IT role. Yeah. Okay. So did she exaggerate her resume to some degree. Maybe. I'm just putting it out there because that's what people would say to me in this situation. And or so now you have an employee that you maybe is not seasoned enough for something. And now you're going to burden your employees who really are good with Rachel when they're already got their hands full.
No. And here's why. Because the model that you just described is assuming the worst first.
Yeah.
And a lot of managers, bosses do that. And I unequivocally say that's the wrong stance, because it could be in 3 months' time, Christine, if you've done all the things, if you've doubled back on the training, if you sent her out for external training, if you've partnered her with season and she is still dead weight on the team, then maybe you then say, okay, did we make the wrong choice? Do we need to either let her go or reassign her to a different department? But if you go out of the gate, then there's no way Rachel's going to succeed. I think this is a problem in a lot of workforce situations, is managers are impatient from the start. Mm-hmm. And so they say, I need this person to be at 100% on day 2. And that's an unrealistic expectation. So I feel like assume the best first before you entertain the possibility that you made the wrong hire, is my position. But I come from a place of emotionally intelligent leadership, which is I am going to try to connect with what does this person need in this moment, as opposed to what are they not doing for me in this moment.
Gotcha. All right, Tati, I know she wants to pipe in here, but the camera came on quick. She was like, usually Tatiana's like, I'm not going to speak. And now she was like, that camera popped on. I was like, I know she's got some words. Okay.
Just because I think it's fun to disagree and have the disagreement here. I agree with what you guys have said about where we're coming from. Let's use some situational leadership. Greg, you mentioned that specifically, of like where we can monitor this. I think for me, I'm with Christine. This is a technical skill. So I'm going to kind of venture towards, do you know this? Because like at some point you do have to have the minimum basic skills. And so like having been in the position before of like, okay, I'm trying to figure out what really is happening with this employee. Is it that you don't have the skills, or is it that you've been led badly in the past? So my first thing would be like, let's assess where you are. And here are some things I want you to do. And so this is like before a PIP, a performance improvement plan. It's just kind of like every day I just need you to tell me what you're working on, right? Like I don't know anything about what you're doing, but I need you to tell me what happened today, so that when it comes back, or if it does come back that you aren't meeting deadlines, I can say, well, do you know about all these other things that have happened to not meet these deadlines? And then I can kind of assess, are you lackluster in the job, or are there a lot of external sources contributing to this, what's happening? So like, let's assess what your skills are. And if there's something else that's happening that's taking away from you doing your project work, because it might be, you might need to get rid of this person if they don't have the skills to even just keep up with the basic, what they were hired to do. And maybe they just can't do it.
I mean, the other thing is you got to really look at your hiring procedures, because somehow you're not picking up on this in that process.
Or you are. So to just continue to dig my own heels in the sand.
I appreciate that, Erika.
Because in general, I think the paradigm is shifting across this country, at least I can speak to, in a good way, in the sense of we're going to hire someone who does demonstrate those critical thinking skills, those emotional intelligence skills, those culture fit. They have a lot of they're good problem solvers. They may be younger and greener in the technical skills that our organization has, but we trust that we can train them up, because the technical skills are usually the easier ones to train. So because in your description, I appreciate the first half of what you said, Tatiana, because it still was that idea of re-level setting. Let me see what else is going on with Rachel, because I'm going to assume Rachel has a full life and she's bringing her whole self to this job, and these technical skills are lacking. So the second half of that, though, is let's really make sure we're providing workforce training. So, workforce development and workforce training is something that's getting more attention now in the past couple of years than it's really ever gotten before, which is the assumption and the understanding that people who are entering the workforce, I'm making an assumption that Rachel is young here, the way you described her. So that people are entering the workforce, this idea of workforce development as a thing that is needed is getting the attention it deserves now, to say, let's make sure we're hiring the whole person, even if some of those it's in your job description. You should know how to do this. Skills are a little bit lacking at the start. It's on me as an organization to infuse her with those skills, because then I get someone who stays with me for much longer because I'm investing in her growth and I'm helping kind of shape her into this amazing employee. I'm not getting a perfect employee out of a box.
Yeah. And another thing to add to this, I was trying to imagine myself as head of an IT department, which first of all is just difficult to imagine. But secondly, I think what's missing maybe in our conversation so far is the effect that Rachel is having on the project team and on those individuals and the whole. And I think if I'm managing a bunch of people, I'm not only considering what's going on with Rachel, but like what's going on with all those people who are significantly assisting her, right? And it might be in this situation an opportunity to talk to them as well, to say, what do you think is the issue here? Because they probably know the technical skills better than I do, certainly. I mean, assuming I'm in that place, I know something. But if they're helping her, they know, is this something that she can pick up? She just needs time? Or like, what do they think? Because that also allows them to relax a little bit and look at you as understanding where they're coming from and not judging you for not doing something with Rachel, because I don't want to lose my good people over trying to develop her, so maybe if they're on board with helping to develop her and coaching more and knowing that they're important in that process, maybe that helps the whole and Rachel, and them.
I think you have to have a specific time frame too, like Tatiana was saying, where you're doing the assessment. Obviously, you have to touch base on where's the ball dropping in the hiring for this to happen. But to make a sports analogy, which I like to do, if you have a player on your team, a new player on your soccer team who has really good speed and is a great forward, is going to get down there, but doesn't have the ball skills to control the ball and get it into the net, then what do you do with that player? Do you cut them, or do you specifically train their ball skills over time? The next 6 to 12 months, we're going to really work on building their ball skills so that they can trap the ball, they can make moves, and they can try and score. Again, it's going to take time, is my point, to build those skills. So back to what Erika was saying, like, are you going to nurture those skills over time, or are you going to just be like, oh, she doesn't have them? Let's get her out and get somebody else in and do a better job hiring. Bottom line for me as the manager is, my two super objectives are to get results and keep my people, because turnover is so expensive. So, we spend so much money on the hiring, and if the ball is dropping there's a major problem.
Yeah, I think between Christine and Greg, I think the larger sort of takeaway from me when we talk about Rachel is not Rachel herself. It's the company and the manager's hiring, onboarding, and training process and how well that's communicated. So to your point, Christine, if it's a really clearly laid out structure where there's a nice runway for a new hire, and so the team that she's hired into understands as a new hire, she has X amount of time where the whole team is responsible for sort of taking her under their wing and training her collectively, that learning period is X number of time. If all of that is really strongly established and communicated, then a lot of the potential issues or grumbling are eliminated from the start. So it's a great reminder for managers to think about what is that process. And how formally defined is it? Because there does need to be a runway, but if nobody knows that it's happening, that's where the problem actually probably exists.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Okay, so we've got some ideas with Rachel. I'm sure if you're at home, you've got some notes for us too. And whether thank you, Tatiana, for jumping in there. I'm going to go to our lightning round now. Are you guys ready? So Greg's going to start the lightning round since Erika started the last one. We're going to go Greg. I'm going to ask the question, then I'm going to put the timer on. You're going to answer, and then Erika's going to answer, and then I'm going to ask another question, and then Erika will answer, and then Greg will answer, and we'll keep going as far as we can in those 2 minutes. Okay? All right. So the question starts, Greg, what is your favorite inspirational speech from a film or a TV show?
I mean, there's so many, but the one that comes to mind first is Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights, and the one about expectations and how everyone's expecting them to win. He starts with gentlemen. I just love that start, gentlemen, and he goes on about expectations and how everyone's expecting them to win, and how he wants them just to go out there and just do what they do well and attack it, regardless of the outcome. Obviously, he wants to win, but his speeches are so good. And, of course, he ends with clear eyes, full hearts. Can't lose.
Can't lose. All right, Erika.
Mine also came from Friday Night Lights, the TV show, probably because I'm with you too, and I know you're fellow, but mine was not from Coach Taylor. It was from one of the high school student characters, Tyra. It's her speech that she writes in her college application. Anyone who watched that show knows that she went from a troubled, struggling student to at the very end of her high school career, really understanding that she could be successful. And her speech is all about, I used to not want anything because wanting meant then I had to try, and try meant I was going to fail. So I wouldn't let myself want anything, but now I can't stop wanting. And she has this beautiful list of all the things she wants, and about just, I want this beautiful, surprising, full, rich life. It's one of the best.
Oh my gosh, good. All right, well, that leads me to, how do you handle failure as a leader, Erika?
I really think it's important. This is so much easier said than done, but failure is the way towards success. So failure is the way to show you the path that you're going to tweak or change entirely. So you own it, you look at it head on. So you look it in the eye, and then you see what to change for the next action.
Great.
Failure is stumbling from failure. Sorry, success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. 1 second, I need a cigar or something, because it's
You failed in reading.
It's Winston. It's Winston.
Success is being able to say that quote.
I can't say the quote, but Winston Churchill said it best with that quote, in my opinion. Success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. Failure is the key to success. We must embrace failure and make the changes necessary in order to work towards success.
Okay, awesome. And you're at 2.5 minutes. So we will stop there with those 2 questions. But those were very good answers. I love it. All right, you guys, thanks for being on today. Have a happy summer. Go enjoy the beach or the pool or whatever you can today. And thanks to everybody for listening.
Thanks, Christine. Bye, Erika.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'd like to give a special shout out to our podcast producer, Richard Francisco. Check out our notes for any details. And if you get anything out of this, please follow us. And if you enjoy it, please take a moment to rate us or write a comment. It will mean the world to us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you just can't get enough, follow me on TikTok and check out tlpnyc.com/podcast for more information.